I turned your volume all the way up. Do you want to try talking again?
Is this better?
Oh, I can see that you're talking, but it's not letting me hear you.
Okay. Hmm. Is this better?
Nope. Hold on. Let me try.
Better?
Okay, you want to try talking? Nope. Ah, it's not gonna, it's not letting me work. Sorry.
Oh well.
It's really annoying that I can see that you're talking, but I can't hear you. No, I don't know either. If you if you want to just type stuff, you can, because if I can answer through voice, it'll be easier, but if you want me to also type answers, I can do that as well. Yeah, that'll be fine. A lot of people actually don't want to talk to me, so it's usually how it ends up being anyway. Um, so yeah, if you want me to go over the whole profile, I can. But since you did ask for intermediate, I usually let you decide how much of the like basic info you want, or if you want to just ask questions and focus on acting things out. Yeah, that's fine. I can start with like the really basic stuff. Do you want to start walking and set up like a territory somewhere or something? Um, while I go over the profile? Okay. I don't care where you go, I'll just follow you. Um, and sorry, I do get distracted while I'm talking sometimes because it can be hard to answer questions, survive, still roleplay, and talk about everything. So sorry if I have like random pauses. But okay, so I'm assuming you've got grouping down. It's not crazy complicated. I did get it clarified before that prides for the related males, it doesn't just have to be brothers, it can be a father and a son, and that is okay. But if you're brothers, it's best if you partner with someone from your clutch. Don't just go with someone who was born before you that you never met before. Because the whole point of it is that like the two males built up a bond and then they decided to go form a territory together. So yeah, try to have it in the same clutch. Uh, Up to four females, and it's sub or adult. And they come and go kind of as they want. So it's okay, good. Yeah, I know that was a question for everyone. I had to get it clarified myself because I think originally it was only brothers, and they changed it to be fathers and sons. Um, and the females will choose to join the male or not, and usually that's pretty fast. Another common question I get is people who tend to play males ask how are they supposed to attract females? Not like normal, you're not going to scream or try to show off, but it's still kind of up to you. It's very open. There's not a lot written in the profile about it. So I usually ask people, what is your dinosaur's personality? Are you really bold or are you kind of shy? And then you can kind of base how you want to act off of that. Um, So if you're going to be kind of like a more bold male, maybe you're going to make the first moves and walk up and two call if you see a female at the edge of your territory. If you're more shy, maybe you'll let her come to you, maybe sit down or crouch and four call and then two call to let her walk over. Or if you want to, give her like a gift or show her your colors. You can do that too. It's kind of up to you, but you don't have to do any kind of like dance or roar or anything like that to get her to come over. And they should decide pretty fast. The females aren't supposed to like dilly-dally over it. But then they will spend time learning who your dinosaur is. And you shouldn't just meet females and then start nesting immediately. You should let a couple days pass in game and let them get to know you. I've actually had it happen really nicely by some other females before when I was a male once, and they didn't like me, which was fine. And they just kind of snuck off and left the group, which I thought was a really nice way of sneaking away. And if they do decide to leave, a lot of times they'll take like their daughters with them if they're still there. But in a group, like say it was just you and you didn't have a brother or your father, if we had daughters, they would need to leave because they would be related to the only male here. If you have like a brother and technically they could still mate with him, then they could stay if the group isn't full, which is a little bit confusing. Generally myself, I just leave. Anyway, I don't like to wait and complicate things. Hold on. Okay, so roamers, that would be like if a female, say you died and your female had babies, she'd probably take her babies and leave. So that's like a roamer group. It's just one adult with their babies. It could be the opposite way too. It could be I died and you took the kids and left. Or it can be a group of 4 juveniles. So that is up until 0.8. And then obviously we can also still mob. I thought originally we were able to mob large carnivores as well, but I think that was changed. It does specify only large herbivores now, so just don't forget that. Don't try and mob a Rex. Yes. Yeah. Very confusing, kind of convoluted. But yeah, in a single male pride, all the offspring has to leave. You could potentially keep a son with you. If you have father and a son, I'm trying to remember. I think that should be fine too, because you can technically, I think, still breed with someone who's your grandfather. And they're not directly, putting air quotes into that, related to that other male. So yes, they could stay. Yeah, so the large herbivores, that's basically Saichana and Apado. So it's not for mobbing apexes. And we are no longer scavengers, so don't forget that. We lost our scavenger tag, so you do have to challenge food. And you can no longer do the thing where the females distract like an apex carnivore and then the male goes over and steals food. You can't do that anymore. So just make sure you're always 3-calling before you take meat from someone. Yes. Yeah, that just changed like last week. So, because if we were scavengers, you could just steal it, but that is now for the small guys and not us. Sorry, I'm also reading my own notes. Yeah, I was a little sad because I liked being a larger scavenger, but I understand. It's also because of confusion with the koas. Yeah, I really like the aspect where you could steal from a big guy and distract him, but that's okay. So we have strong bonds both for social and for mating. They're poly-strong, so it's because you have multiple females generally. And then usually the females will also form strong bonds with each other as well. And that is why sometimes they'll all leave together. They're all like, peace out at the same time. And that kind of ties into some of our behavior when we're not traveling around or making territory or sleeping. We do a lot of group bonding. You can play with each other, be social. You can start a roar and everyone yells together. But you can go over and groom each other. lay down near each other, bask in the sun together. That's all kind of social behaviors that you can do. I have had people in the past, which I thought was kind of cute. A younger female had joined my pack as a male, and she helped a little bit with marking territory. Like she'd bring colored objects over so that I could put them down as markers, which I thought was really cool. I'm not that nimble holding a giant hunk of meat in my mouth. Sorry, I'm just, going for a long swim in the river. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cute because it helped her like actually bond with me until she felt comfortable, and it gave her something else to do. And then for general stuff, so starting for us as babies, we are blind and deaf when we're born, so you can't see and you can't hear things. So try not to react to sounds. I always try to wait until parents are really close before reacting to them being there. And you can still call to them, but like if they walk over and two call, don't immediately two call back because you wouldn't hear that. Personally, I usually wait until about 0.4 to be able to start seeing things, but I still act kind of blind, and I might still run into things like rocks. Us being blind and deaf is also something that always makes me chuckle when people have nests on shelves because your kids can't see, and I'm kind of a rude baby, and I will literally run off a cliff if someone's not watching me. So it always makes me laugh when people are nesting like really high up on a shelf. Okay, so our description is boisterous, so you can scream all the time, be annoying, walk around, fall off that cliff if you want to. No one's there watching you. You are raised by all the females in the group together. So you have a bunch of aunts, and they'll all help try to corral the kids and maybe keep them from, walking off the cliff. And then you're also really playful as a baby, so usually I wait until after 0.4, like I said, because then you can kind of see, and that's when you want to start playing, so play a lot of tag. I like that someone actually just added the legging a rib cage and then eating almost all of it so you have a bone to play with. I love that. I actually do that a lot usually, but that's cute because then you can run around with a tiny bone in your mouth or a big bone, and chase each other and scream and bother your parents. So I usually act like a baby until about juvie age. Yeah, I love when kids do the bone thing, or eggs too. If you have an egg or something, they can run around with it. Where was I? Okay, yeah. So as a baby from like 0.4 to 0.6, I tend to be more playful and curious and really stupid because you don't know anything. So run into rocks or fall off a cliff, fall into the water and just scream until your mom comes and saves you. Be dumb. And then right before juvie, right around 0.6, that's when I start to calm down a little and like be more interested in what the adults are doing and follow them around. That's also around the time when the males would go follow their fathers to see how to make territory. And the females are going to be teaching kids how to hunt and scavenge and avoid danger. It's not like a hard and fast. They don't have to just disappear with their father. They can go back and forth, but they're going to act more interested in what their dad's doing as they start to get a little bit older. And then this is kind of my own personal preference too. Some animals, like para, I wait to be chased out of a group, but as a carnivore that tends to wander anyway until they find territory, I tend to disperse on my own, so I'll leave the group, but I'll usually start wandering further and further away as I hit like 0.7, and then around like 0.79, 0.78, I just disappear and I don't come back. because naturally we would want to go and make our own territory because we're small. You can't fight your parents for their territory. You will die. And then once you leave, yeah, I like doing it that way. It is hard because some people get upset that you're just leaving, but I do usually say bye in chat. For some other things like herbivores, like paras, I like to play a little dumber, so I try to wait until the males notice that I'm not a baby anymore and get mad, but that doesn't usually work either. So once you leave, the males are going to be looking for territory, and the females kind of wander around until they find other females or they find a male that they like. I always tell people too, when you're a sub, don't make a huge territory. Like, you're still kind of young, you probably don't know how, so you can mess up. You can make a tiny territory or practice. Make yourself like a itty bitty personal territory on a rock before you go to bed. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. And then as you get older and more mature, you're probably going to start making larger and better territories. You can mark with anything. We don't have specified things to mark with, so you can use plants, you can use bones, you can use flowers, doesn't matter. Also make sure you're scent marking though, so try and rub your head against things. You can crouch next to rocks to make it look like you're rubbing your back on them. If I find like a patch of sand too, you can do the thing where you sit and lay down and stand up really fast to make it look like you're kind of rolling on the ground a little bit. I don't know how long you've been here, but that actually used to be part of our profile like a year ago. And then normally that's like females are going to find you when you are patrolling. So especially if you're a lone male and you want to attract females, make sure you're patrolling actively. Because then when they see you, that's when they're probably going to watch you and come over and maybe show some interest. And that is also like, if you see the female, that's when you're going to do whatever your Meg specifically likes to do. So if you want to flash your crest at someone, use your alt button to raise your head and kind of strut around to call them. Or, act submissive and hope they come over. So that's kind of up to you and what personality you give your dinosaur. And then once you do have, say you have a full pride, so you've got females and you're there, the male's job is pretty much just patrolling and maintaining the territory borders. So you don't really help with hunting. You don't necessarily go out to find meat and bring it back. You can help with hunts, but generally they're female-led. So when I'm a female, I try to make sure if I find something to hunt, I go back and I'll get the male to follow me. I usually do that with like 2 calls and circling them and trying to show like, hey, I want you to come with me if you don't want to use chat. And then they can help with the hunt. But typically it is like females leading that or going out to find food and coming back. Hold on, sorry. I'm going over my notes really fast. Told you about spending time bonding before mating. I see it all the time where people meet up and then immediately start nesting. But you really should spend some time. Like, I like to check out the male's territory, look at his markers, watch how he is patrolling. Is he actually looking around? Is he actually maintaining all of his markers? Sorry, got a text message. And make sure that I like the territory, because if I don't like it, I'm obviously not going to sit there and have kids there. So I try to spend some time. If I find someone while walking around, so kind of like what happened with us where you don't have a territory, as a female, I tend to be much more picky because I don't want to be wandering forever. Like, I want them to have a good territory, so I'll give them a couple days in game to set up a territory, and if they don't, then I kind of wander off normally, because you wouldn't want to stay with a male who's not going to establish like a home area for you to actually have kids successfully. And then when it does come time for mating, usually it's all the females are mated at the same time, so that way all the babies are about the same age. This can either be initiated by the males or the females. It depends, once again, kind of on your male's personality. Just don't be sad if you get rejected the first few times by the females. But if you are a female and you do want to mate, probably gonna go follow the male around, two call a lot, sit down near him, rub up against him a lot. If you're male and you're interested, also a lot of following, probably gonna nudge the female a lot to call, try to get them to lay down. But yeah, that's kind of up to like whichever one of you wants to initiate it. There's no hard and fast rules for that either. So if you're like, wow, it's been long, you can try. Or if the females are feeling really comfortable, then they can try to get you to mate with them. Territory. So technically it's not crazy strict and you could mate with that person as well if they wanted to. But then personally, from an RP standpoint, I tend to wait until like the next round of breeding, mating, whatever you want to call it, because then the other female who just showed up has time to kind of get to know who you are, maybe build up a friendship with the other females in the pride, and they can always help raise children because they're in the pride, so they can help raise all the current babies. But I don't typically mate with them after I've already mated. Maybe if it was like right after, but then that would kind of be like they just joined and immediately mated with you, which they shouldn't really want to do. Although that can also be up to them. Like maybe they are a really desperate female. I know there's been times when I was literally like 1.4 and I'd never met a male Meg, so that female probably would have been pretty desperate. Okay, hold on. I talked about baby raising, where it's mostly the females, because the male's pretty focused on the territory and making sure it's safe. And then females are raising the babies, teaching them how to hunt. And then when they're juvies, the boys are interested in following dad around. And feel free to like, you know, they don't just have to follow you, like you can actively show them things or encourage them to pick up things that you want to use as markers, put it down in front of them and ask them to pick it up, and then have them follow you and put it down. It doesn't just have to be them walking around behind you. And then for challenges and stuff, males don't challenge over females because being in a pride is completely the female's choice. So you wouldn't fight another male to steal his females. But there is occasionally challenges over territory. So if someone else finds your territory and they think it's really great, they are allowed to challenge you. Try to do a lot of posturing and calling, gather up like your whole pride, attempt to try and scare them off. Because you should have the mindset of you're a pretty big carnivore. Injury could mean that you can't hunt and you'll die. So you want to try and avoid getting hurt wherever possible. So you want to try and like look intimidating, yell, gather everyone together and all yell at the same time. And like, don't be afraid to be afraid and run away and give up. Because it's not always worth it to fight. You can always go find better territory or a different territory. The same thing goes for like hunts and stuff or challenges. Like you can get into a hunt and you can back out. I always see people like hunting until someone dies, even if it's one of the hunters. And like, you don't have to do that. You can 4 call or 5 call and run away. Because in the wild, not every hunt is successful. It's literally less than 80% of all hunts. So it is fine to be scared. I do like to sometimes not even get to the point where you fight. Like sometimes just being challenged is enough to scare me off because it can be pretty frightening if you have a bunch of dinosaurs screaming into your face. But if no one does want to back down, you can't all go fight, and it's kind of just everyone attacking everyone until someone gives up. But same thing, I wouldn't fight until someone dies, because it's not worth losing a pride member over territory. But that is pretty much the profile. If you want to see anything too, like we can do behaviors. I had a cheat sheet things on it. I have like 85 papers with notes on them. So if you hear me shuffling around, that is why. Because also I lose them quite regularly. Like how to do actual things. Yeah, sure. So, How do people normally get down from here? I don't usually come up here. They just jump down over here. Same. When you just hope your knees are up to the task. For territory, I don't know. I think personally, I tend to have smaller territories than other people. I don't like huge ones, but for here, like I might go up to this cliff and keep those shelves, obviously, because you want some shelter, and then maybe go down to the river. But that's also like personal preference. So I like smaller territories that are easier for me to keep an eye on, but some people like really big ones. I don't usually take giant ones unless I'm like an apex, because then I don't really care if someone else is wandering around. Um, but yeah, marking, I just normally pick things up and bring it over, and then if I'm gonna scent mark, like I might mark the territory, and then like I usually like to scent mark near wherever I put that down. And I hate these trees because I always get stuck on them. But I just do physically like rub my head on there, or if it's like a rock or something, you can always crouch and it does make it look like you're kind of rubbing your side on there. And then if you want to do the scent marking thing where you just roll on the ground, it's just lay down really fast and then get up. It can be hard because some of us are slower than others with clicking our keyboards. But you can make it look like you're rolling around in something. A long time ago, it used to be the female would go roll around in the male's poop if they were interested. And usually after like I scent mark something, I'll go back and I'll sniff it to make sure that it's marked enough. And if it's not, then I'll go back and mark it again. But this is like literally your time to like attract females when you're marking territory and walking around. And I usually just do use whatever plants are around. Try to make your markers visible. There's been some problems where like they're not visible and the people aren't sure where things are. It can be harder at night too. But I try to put them about a body length apart and not always all at the same time because like I'll make multiple rounds. So I'll put stuff down and then I'll come back and put more stuff when I come around a second time. It doesn't have to all be done the first time because it's something that you're going to build up as you keep going. Sorry, I also don't know if you're typing ever, so try not to move too much if you are. And if you have meat, you can mark with that as well and eat off all the meat so that you just leave your bones. I do like to, if I see rotting stuff, collect it and put it at the edge of the territory too, so that it rots out and marks your territory for you. And when I do that, I try to make sure it's like the really spoiled stuff that even the scavengers don't usually eat. Because you can't really claim more than one gore per person in the pack. So try not to claim like 4 fresh gores if there's only 2 of you. And if you pick it up, you're technically claiming it, so. Do you have about like 40-ish minutes? So we can ask, if you have other questions too, like please ask, let me know what you want me to focus on. Because I don't want to just guess and then miss something that you actually really wanted to go over. And you could also, like, if you want to try raising kids, we could try to nest. I usually just put in to the post to treat it like a dress rehearsal, but I don't know that anyone will take an egg. There's only 17 people on. Like as a baby or as an adult? Okay, so as a baby, usually I just walk up to my parent and then I sit down and then I raise my head up to look into their face and then I just scream until they realize they need something. Because you're not going to necessarily have a way to communicate, I need food, I need water specifically. But if you just scream at them long enough, hopefully your parent will notice and say, oh, maybe my kid needs something. So that's usually how I do that. As an adult, normally I will just go and do it myself, um, because we don't have to wait for others to take care of us. But I will, like, if I'm leaving you but not leaving you, I usually like to call, but don't act like you need to follow me. So if I wanted you to follow me, usually I'd two call, look at you, probably come back if you weren't moving, two call again, and try to show like, hey, I need you to follow me. Circle a couple times. And then usually once you start like you're walking with me, I would two call again and keep walking. But that's if I wanted you to follow me somewhere. If I'm just leaving, like say to go get food, normally I two call as I go so that especially like the male doesn't think I'm just leaving him. Because honestly, like if I'm gonna sneak away, I'm probably not gonna do it where anyone can see me. I'll just leave and you won't even know I'm gone. I also don't care if other people join us. I usually just same thing as if we had kids, just let them know that we're trying to do a class and it's a DR. I also can't see gender, so I don't know what they are. Mine's not high enough. Yeah, I mean, if you want to invite them, you can. It's up to you. I don't usually, if I'm in a pack as a female, I don't usually go up first myself and invite them. I kind of let them decide on their own. Sorry if you hear my dog barking, he's freaking out. Um, let the male decide, and I'll go with him if he walks up to them, but I'm not usually like making the decision myself. Because usually if like I already know a female and I'm gonna be with them, they're usually with me because that's the one I'm traveling with. Um, Hold on, sorry. I think entry just messaged me. Sorry, the other AC is in training, so she was gonna come watch, and learn how to give a class. And I gave her the wrong time, obviously, since I messed up. Yeah, sorry. That was my mess up. But when I'm leaving, and I'm not leaving, that's how I usually do it. I just walk away and two call and I don't look back, so you know I'm not abandoning you. So sorry, I'm probably gonna devour this entire thing because I'm over 1.2 and meg hunger's ridiculous. If you need to move it somewhere, you can for your territory. But yeah, especially the new female, like I'll follow the other male around or the male around sometimes because I want to see what he's doing if you're forming territory for the first time. And with the new female too, like want to get to know her, probably gonna sniff her a lot, to call. Maybe if she lays down somewhere, I would lay down with her. I like to sniff markers that have been placed down too. It's just I'm inspecting your handiwork, seeing if you're good enough. Because you can be picky if you want to. You can also, if you alt your head, it raises it too. So you can always do that to scratch your head up on a higher part of the tree. If you're not in the middle of an idle animation. Do sometimes too when I'm sniffing, because it dips your nose into the ground. Sometimes when I'm actually looking around, I do alt, and then I like to sniff, because it actually makes it look like you're sniffing. So I do like to do that on occasion. Don't have to, just my own little fun RP thing I like doing. Because I kind of hate when my face drags through the ground. I do like playing without chat. Not particularly. Like, you're gonna be much more interested in maintaining territory than the females are, and we are gonna be interested in collecting food or hunting. But for the most part, no. Like, if you're socializing, if you're going over to groom someone, that's not really exclusive to one gender or the other. Which I usually either just use my mouse to make it look like I'm brushing my head on someone, but also just use the pickup key, since we can't pick each other up, and it makes it look like you're grooming, just like if you were a Velo or a Terra. So you can just walk up and groom someone. In this case, your toes, and I'll remove these ferns from them. A little easier if you're not standing over edible plants. But yeah, not really. When it comes to babies, a little bit, because not that you are uncaring as a male, but most of that care does go on the females. So like, we're gonna be the ones taking them to water and making sure they have food. And you're just gonna make sure like the territory is being maintained and we're not having like Rexes walk in on us to kill our babies. And we are all allowed to defend territory together, so you're not alone on that. Like, everyone can come over to defend territory. Because we all want our kids to be safe. If you ever play chase someone, I don't do it too much as an adult, but I like to run up behind them or stalk them and then run right up alongside them in two call. Because like it would be where you'd get bit, but instead it's two call. So usually if I have kids, I like to do that. Stalk their dad or their aunts. Um, and then you can always like run away and start playing tag, but I don't bite when I play tag. I usually just two call where you would have bit someone instead. I don't mask quite the same as Ichthy either. I usually just will sit somewhere sunny, whereas Ichthy, like I usually point my head up to try and maximize the sunlight absorption. But we're more like lions, where we just like sleeping in the sun. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and we can also, so you can always turn these classes into basically not a true dress rehearsal, but if you're done with questions and you just want to act, and if I see anything or you think of anything else, that is also totally fine, because that's kind of how we treat like the advanced classes. Because I do have a little bit of more time for you. I can leave whenever, but we also started late, so I can stay another half hour with you, and that's totally fine. Um, I honestly think you'd be pretty good. Um, but it's really just like the little behaviors, little RP things that you add in, like rolling around on the ground and marking trees with your face, um, or interacting with others. Like, don't tab out the whole time, because your mom's actually really fun to play with too. They're really good at acting as well. When you don't ever, I know we did, but I think it's mostly because I was talking, you don't have to sleep through the entire night. You are allowed to go patrol your territory. I don't usually do it more than like once or twice a night, and I do it really slow. I don't really run, because then you're kind of tired. You're not supposed to be awake, but you don't have to sleep the entire night. Even if I'm like a female, sometimes I still just like wake up and look around because you probably aren't going to sleep the entire night through. You can, because you are allowed to defend territory at night. Just don't do it often. Like during the day, most of my day as a male would be taken up with patrolling territory, marking all of my scent marked areas, maintaining the borders. And I do that most of the day with breaks periodically. But at night, like mostly I sleep and I'll usually do like one patrol. But you are allowed to patrol and you are allowed to guard your territory any time of the day or night. Um, if someone was interested, like say you're making your territory borders and your mom and I are actually ready. Like if I want eggs, I'd probably come up next to you. I'd probably two call, maybe rub on you and sit down to try and make it obvious, like what I'm asking for. Um, you can always four call. And that's kind of how like I would say like, hey, I'm interested. Um, I wouldn't try for too long. I think generally for me, I usually play the males as more persistent than a female for that type of thing. And you've probably got the hunting stuff down too, where you're not tail riding people. That's pretty well established server wide. Um, yeah, definitely try and use like hit and run, bite once or twice, and then peel off so that you don't get hit. Um, Probably like 15 to 20 minutes. Um, like if your mom will probably stay with you. Um, so you can still keep playing if you want to or practice stuff. And I mean, if you want to nest, I can leave you with eggs, but I have to go eat dinner. So, you can also, well, not now because it's almost nighttime. Um, Actually, yeah, I probably can't stay past the night. Um, because them stars are already out. But yeah, I don't know. I think you're pretty good. Oh, never mind. I guess mom's not saying either. But yeah, just keep practicing. Um, you can always think about other like little RP things because I definitely don't know them all. So if you ever think of other things, like don't be afraid to try them or use them. Because some of the things that I use too, like I've gotten from other people, I'm definitely not the most creative. Usually steal everyone else's ideas. I do a lot of like behavior and personality and like reactions and stuff, a lot of that is stuff that I do on my own, but a lot of the fun like little RP things, the little behaviors or things you can do are things that I've stolen from other people. Mostly I just try to act like I am a pretty big carnivore, so you want to conserve energy. You don't want to be too loud because obviously Rexes and Acros will all eat you. Yeah, definitely. If you see fun ones, steal it. I've literally asked people to like what key they've used before because I saw something and I was like, that's awesome. Trying to think too, there's other fun little things that I'm missing. Um, and I know some people talk about this with babies too, but I like doing it where like you get really hyper and then you just sprint around. You're really annoying, and then you just lay down, go to sleep wherever you are because you got tired. I do like to do that a lot too. Because babies do have like, yeah, they get like that little burst of energy and then they're sprinting and being really annoying and screaming at everyone, and then they're tired, so they go to bed. I like doing that as a baby. Um, ooh, something I did steal from someone else is like when you walk into rocks and stuff as a blind baby, scream because it hurts to hit your nose, and hopefully your parent will come over. I try not to react to chat. I do try to wait for people to actually call, where I can hear them, and I won't react like if mom had told us like she fell off the cliff, I probably wouldn't have walked over there. But hearing her pain sound, I did run over to go check on her, see if she was okay. That baby thing where you're asking about like water and stuff, I like to think of it as being a baby bird. You just scream until someone does something for you directly into your parents' face. I'm gonna go over my notes one last time and make sure I didn't forget anything else for you too. Just don't forget about not mobbing large carnivores. Don't mob apexes. Don't want you to get in trouble for that. It is only large herbivores that we can mob. And a lot of people ask about that prey list too. I feel like you probably have it down, but the preference doesn't mean like we're not horrible because we have gore first, but it doesn't mean like say fish was ahead of that. You wouldn't have to eat fish over a gore. Like you should eat gores first, no matter what your preference list is, because that's just preference. So that would help. Like say there is no gore and you are hunting. If you were hunting paras and you smelled some unguarded eggs, you'd probably want to go for those over the paras, since you do prefer egg over a medium animal. Same thing if you're hunting paras and they have packies with them, you prefer a medium-sized animal over a packy. Yeah. And like obviously too, if you're alone and you're not a whole pack, you're gonna take less risks. So you probably would hunt the packy instead of a para on your own. I did really like too when someone, I forget who it was now, was talking about how they were a younger Meg and they were alone and they attacked a para, bit it a couple times, got hit once, and then realized I can't do this and screamed and ran away. Like I think that's awesome. You can experiment as you're growing because you don't know anything. So you have to learn, even if it means you get hit in the butt by a para once. Stalking. Oh, I was going to show you that. Yeah, learn by doing. Try not to let your previous experiences come into it. But literally for stalking, I'll just pick, like I said, I use like their dad a lot if I have kids, but I literally just like crouch after them, freeze if they look over, and then like I will run at them and just two call instead of biting. And usually like if you have babies, you can encourage them to do that too. Like nudge them, to call them, get them to crouch with you, to call them again when they crouch, and then usually they'll follow you, and you can have them stalk things. You can stalk plants or ribs if you want, but I like to stalk other members of the pack because I think it's more fun. And it's more fun for other people too. And obviously, like, try not to do that at night because you're sleeping. You got stalked on your Meg, or you did stalk? You did, yeah. I love it. I love doing that. I definitely think it makes it more engaging for everyone else around. Yes. I don't think I missed anything. And you said I got your questions, so. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think you'd be good for an advance. As long as you feel comfortable, like, and you can still ask questions in those if you want to. It's not like you can't ask any questions. It's just mostly us playing together, like, as good as we can with no chat or limited chat. But if you still have questions, like, you can still ask them during those times too. Hopefully. Sorry it didn't work. And sorry I totally messed up the times. I was literally 2 hours behind. Okay, well, I might head out then if you don't have other questions. If you think of anything else too, and you forgot to ask it, feel free to DM me. Like, I literally don't care when I get messages, and I will answer pretty fast, generally speaking. So yeah, awesome. And I hope to play with you again someday too, because I think it'd be fun. So I am going to head out now. So sorry I'm running away, but hopefully you'll find someone else. Another Meg on, even though no one's on for some reason. Definitely, yeah. If you ever see me on, I don't usually join group finders, but if you ever see me and I'm the same species, I'll definitely join with you. Okay. I'm gonna start logging out, so I won't see any more chats through here. And then also gonna leave the voice chat. So have a good night.